Now, there are a lot of things that are happening in the Cardano community in Japan, and we don't always know exactly what's going on. But I have Seira, a fellow Cardano ambassador, a prominent member in the Cardano community, and now also ICC member as well. This is all very exciting. We're going to go through everything that Seira's doing with Socious, as well as what's happening in the Japanese Cardano community, which we don't have much insights into. Seira, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Peter. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start from the beginning here, and I'd like people to know a little bit more about you and how you're involved in the Cardano community, and also with Socious.
Hi, everyone. My name is Seira Yun. I'm the founder of Socious. So in terms of my involvement with Cardano, the Cardano community, so I'm an ambassador, I'm an SPO, and now I'm interim constitutional committee member. So we are consortium. So we have 5 Cardano ambassadors from Japan, and I'm the leader of that consortium. So yeah, a lot of things. And Socious is also building on Cardano. So Socious is a talent marketplace, decentralized talent marketplace on Cardano. And we are leveraging Atala PRISM or Hyperledger Identus technology to provide certifications, so educational and work certificates on the blockchain, basically using Atala PRISM technology to avoid CV fraud and give access to people who are coming from regions and countries where there are many CV fraud and certification, fake certificates that they don't get the same opportunities as people, for example, from Japan. We don't have many of those issues, right? So yeah, we are trying to level the playing field for everyone and give everyone the chance to make a difference and connecting them to impactful jobs. So jobs in the environment, education, health, etc., that make the world a better place.
I think that's fantastic. It's you did tell me a little bit of your journey into that business and what you're creating there, and there's a lot of impact that the business does, and it really changes lives, especially for people that are coming to Japan. So I thought that was absolutely amazing what you're doing there. But then also to have now the integration of the blockchain technology, Atala PRISM, and all those aspects around the CV certification, which can so easily be made up on LinkedIn or whatever it is. So I absolutely love what you guys are doing there and creating those equal playing field opportunities, as you said, for people coming to the market. So how much of that integration and development have you done? Has it already been done and integrated with the Atala PRISM, or is this a work in progress?
That's a very good question. So we've had the browser-based Atala PRISM wallet, so SSI, self-sovereign identity wallet, for a while, and we had launched our Android wallet a while ago. iOS has been the toughest to get approved, but just yesterday we got approved by iOS. So now it's available on Android and iOS. So we have an SSI wallet that can receive educational credentials and also work certificates. So anyone who wants to prove that they worked for a certain company, or anyone who wants to prove that they graduated from a certain university, they can use our platform to do that. And potential employers, future employers, they can just scan the QR code and basically cryptographically verify that this certificate is not faked, it's authentic, and issued by recognized authority, like a university or company.
So how'd you go about onboarding the university or companies onto certifying the employment? So like you got the users using it. Like I could see I'm sure the users can see the benefits straight away. Like they can verify where they've worked. But how do you get the company to go, all right, we'll set up this thing and we'll verify that this person's worked here? I think from my perspective, for a lot of companies, like getting them on board or onto that identity type of solution is a hard ask. It's like more work they have to do. How do you go about that process?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's work in progress. Like we want to expand that as
Yeah.
well. So as you said, like from the hiring company's perspective, this is a clear value proposition, right? So because they're paying, especially like large companies, when they hire people, they pay a lot of money to background check agencies to make sure that everything is correct on their CVs and what they say in the interviews, etc. But so they're going to save money by using our technology, so that they don't need to pay background check agents. They can just eliminate that process. On the other hand, companies issuing certificates, actually they also have um, incentives to use our platform, because these background check agencies, what they do is that they're calling, they're emailing these previous employers, right? So they hire people like customer service people to answer these emails, answer these calls to say that, hey, this person worked for from this date to this date, and that's money, that's resources that they're
Yeah.
using.
Okay.
But if the companies use our platform, then they can just issue it once, and they don't need to deal with any of these background check calls or emails. Hiring agencies, hiring companies, they can just go straight to the blockchain and verify it. So they will also save money and resources. They don't need to hire these phone agents and people replying to emails. So we believe that there is also a very good incentive and value proposition for the previous companies as well.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. All the money savings that you can make there, and you find in other industries, blockchain really is good for that as well. So that totally makes sense. Hopefully, you guys can help the businesses there on board and have more of these certification checks within your platform, and help more people start finding work through that way. Really exciting to hear all that. So now, I'd like to talk about some of these other things that you're up to in the space as well. And first off, the ICC side of things, the Interim Constitution Committee. Like you said, you're part of the Japan consortium there, leading that up. Now that you guys are a part of this process, what is actually involved for ICC members? What's your role? What do you actually do? I know a lot of people are still confused about this process. What actually happens from here?
Yeah, very good question. So we are finding out as we go as well, as any classic Cardano fashion. So we are evolving very fast, but I think IOG team and people organizing that is doing a fantastic job of training people and providing information. So immediately what's going to happen is that the Chang hard fork is coming up, right? So we play an important role in that. So if we mess it up, we might delay the hard fork. So it's a very important role that we have. So we have a technical lead. So each member, so we have 7 members, right? So each member will have a technical lead, and that person is in charge of storing cold and hot keys and signing transactions. So that's the technical part is actually probably the most important part at the moment, right? So once hard fork is done, then there will be more different roles, like once the constitutional workshops will take place in all over the world, and then a constitution is adopted in December in Buenos Aires. And then after that, there will be governance actions. And that's when we played an important role to declare constitutionality of each governance action, right? So yeah, in a nutshell, these are the activities involved being a ICC member.
Okay, we've still got a long road ahead in the field of governance for Cardano. This year, we're still. It seems like we're still laying the groundworks and foundations for everything before a lot of stuff comes onto chain and voted for next year. So it's really good to have that type of insight to see what's happening. It sounds like a lot of work for you guys over the next year. And this position and role for the interim Constitution Committee is for 1 year. Is that correct?
Yes, it's for 1 year. It's unpaid, so it's
I know.
a lot of work.
I know.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
It's like a congratulations on a lot of work and unpaid volunteerism over the next year. It's going to be a little tough for you guys, but it's good that you also formed a group to do this, so it's not all on one person.
Yes, yeah, that's a great part. We have a great team, 5-person, all Cardano ambassadors who have been involved in the community for a long time, and it's an amazing team. And although it's unpaid, I think this is it's a huge honor to have this position. We have only 7 seats in the Constitution Committee, and we feel the huge responsibility that we have. And but we are confident that we can fulfill that role and for the Cardano community.
Now, it's really good that the Japanese community does have a bit of representation here as well, because there's a lot of ADA holders in Japan. The original ICO happened in Japan, and I'd love to get to know what's actually happening there. In our last conversation, you said there's so many projects building things, and I was quite astounded because I just don't hear of any of this. Can we get some highlights and talk through of what's actually happening in Japan in the Cardano community?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So I believe that Japan has the biggest Cardano community in the world in terms of membership and in terms of ADA holdings, right? So we have 2,500 people in our Line open chat group. And so many of them are very active. And not all the ADA holders in that group. So these are the group that they want to talk, but there are many others who are who hold ADA and who are Cardano community members, but not in the Line chat. And we have very active community members. So we have 2 to 3 community events, physical events per month. And if we include like online events, like maybe 5 to 6 per month, or maybe like once a week, we have Intersect Japan Hub, we have Eastern Town Hall, etc. So like we have so many events and we have so many opportunities to get together, and that's amazing. However, one of the issues that we are facing is that we have a huge language barrier. Many of our community members don't speak English, don't read English. That means there's this isolation between the Japan and Japanese community and the rest of the world, right? So what happens is that the Japanese community members don't know what's going on outside of Japan, right? What's going on in the US, in Europe, in Latin America. It's very tough to access that information, and vice versa. So the international community, they don't know what's going on in Japan. It's like a black hole. It's like a black box, right? So one of our key goals that we have, community members, Cardano ambassadors, etc., is that we want to bridge that gap created by the language barriers, right? So we just finished one Idea Fest. It's bilingual or trilingual. So we had it in some presenters in English, Japanese, and Spanish, and then translating everything into Japanese. And so we had ICC events in bilingual settings as well. So we're trying to fill that gap through our community efforts. So that's the general situation. And in particular, we have so many projects building on Cardano. but no one knows about it, right? So outside of Japan.
Yeah. Okay.
In Japan, they're famous, but no one knows about it. So like we can maybe I can share some of the projects coming out of Japan. There are some projects that have collaborations with football teams in Japan. So FC Football Club Tokushima in the western part of Japan, and they have their jersey, the uniform, and there's a big Cardano logo on the back of their jerseys, and it's quite huge for Cardano to have this mainstream collaboration with a major company. And also we had some collaboration with a media agency and publishing companies. So Futabasha is really top three publishing companies in Japan. And Futabasha had one series of magazines that are basically dedicated for Cardano. And they interviewed Seb from Paima and Disney Spark and Kodama-san from Emergo. So they're like mostly Cardano focused, but they did it in a way, they call it altcoin navigation, Navi. And that's to kind of, it's Cardano focused, but to sell to the general public,
Gotcha. Yep.
they kind of portrayed it as a all the coins besides Bitcoin, so they introduced Ethereum, Polkadot, Cosmos, etc. But one of them is Cardano, and basically the book was saying that Cardano is the best, and so it's to
Yeah.
introduce Cardano to the mass public, right? So not the existing Cardano community members, but that was a great project, and it was in like most of the bookstores all over Japan, and they sold many copies. So that's another great project. And we have another project about Aizome, so indigo dyeing. It's a traditional method of indigo dyeing in Japan, and basically that cultural heritage is in danger of extinction because all the craftsmen, people who are trained to do that, it's all handmade, everything, right? So are like 70 years old, 80 years old, and they don't have successors who can take that tradition to the next generation. So what we did, but mostly not me, but like the people who are involved with the project, is that so these come in the forms of T-shirts or bags or different forms, or handkerchief, etc. And they are actually very expensive. So one T-shirt would cost $150. And there are quite a few fake indigo dyeing products. So they're mass produced, not done properly. But it looks like it's printed and it looks like indigo dyeing. But if you look it closely, it's fake, right? But for normal customers, it's difficult to identify which one is authentic indigo dyeing, which one is just printed, mass produced in Vietnam, in China, etc. So what the project did, is that they put NFT tags on each product, each indigo dyeing product. So that will give authenticity certification basically to that product, so that customers can buy this product with confidence that this is not fake, and then they can actually put their phone over the tag, and they can go to JPEG store, and they can see like who produced it and all the supply chain processes, and like what kind of school of indigo dyeing method that they are following, etc. All the information.
Wow.
And
Okay.
with the policy ID, you can be sure that it's not fake. And they actually sold a lot of T-shirts, a lot of bags, and this will be funding the training of the next generation of craftsmen who can do that. So like we're trying to preserve the cultural heritage through Cardano's NFTs, Cardano's technology. So yeah, there are many other projects. So like huge shout out to all the Japanese projects that are coming up. I want to mention there's so many like there's
Yeah.
yeah there's accounting. So like basically accounting software for Cardano transactions. So like in Japan, tax reporting is quite complicated, and if you have Cardano ADA transactions, it's a nightmare for individuals. So they need to hire tax accountants and tax lawyers. So it costs a lot of money. But if you use this software, then you can file tax very easily. And we in the Japanese community, we are very clear about being legal and compliance and tax. So like we always care about those things as well. So yeah, there's so many projects like DAO projects in the western part of Japan, and yeah, so I think the list keeps on and on. So I'm not sure if how much time we have, but yeah, I just wanted to mention some of these projects.
Well, those ones were absolutely amazing, and I'll try and grab the links from you so the viewers here can reference them, have a look at the projects and what they've actually achieved and all that as well. And you're right, we could keep on going on, and I don't want to discriminate against the ones that didn't get mentioned. I'll try and find more links and give them some airtime as well, so everyone else can discover and learn about what people are building in Japan. So all of this is really, really cool, and thank you so much for sharing what you have so far. Now, I know it's also Catalyst season as well, and I'm just wondering if you had any of your own Catalyst proposals from the Japanese community or yourself from Socious DAO that may need some highlighting in regards to votes for this Fund 11 of Project Catalyst, or Fund 12 of Project Catalyst.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. So at Socious, we have one proposal, and this is about mass adoption of self-sovereign identity solutions, and basically promoting Atala PRISM Hyperledger Identus solution to the mass public, so the general public. So this is in the product category. So we have two components to this this project. So one is contributing to the Atala PRISM SDK repository. So we've been in touch with IOG's Atala PRISM team. So it's been discussed and confirmed that we'll be contributing. So basically, it's an open source project that any project that wants to create a wallet using their SDK, we use that SDK. But one thing that we want to add is the functionality to use alternative method of recovery. So at the moment, if you use the SDK, there's only one option, and that is to use the seed phrase-based recovery method. So the problem with that is that it's one point of failure, a single point of failure solution. Right? So if you lose your seed phrase, then it's over. Like they can basically take your account. And if you just lost it, then you cannot access it, right? So it's, and also 24-word seed phrase. It's, for some people it's daunting, especially people who are not used to crypto wallets, blockchain technologies. So that's why we are suggesting going from a single point of failure to two-factor authentication. So basically, we can recover wallet by backing up the wallet. So it's a file, but it's protected by a password. So let's say someone hacks into your computer and then somehow they get access to your backup file. But if you don't have the password, then they cannot do anything with it. And let's say you somehow like someone got your password, but if they don't have the backup file, they cannot do anything with it, right? So we have two-factor authentication, and also it's much easier, it's much familiar to the general public, not the seed phrase, but backing up, just clicking once and then coming up with a password. And we believe that it's not only a more secure way to recover a wallet, but also it's more user-friendly for the general public. So that's one. And this is a complete open source project. So anyone who uses that IOG's Atala PRISM repository will be able to choose seed phrase-based recovery or backup file and password. So this two-factor authentication recovery method. So we're adding that functionality and providing that for the community. So that's the first part. And the second part is that, so at the moment, Socious can issue certificates. So if people use our platform, they can issue work certificates and educational certificates and KYC verifiable credential, right? So these are three things that we are offering now. However, we have had requests, needs from our users that they want to integrate that into their websites. So for example, there's a company that's selling cigarettes, right? In Japan, there is a law regulating all the companies selling cigarettes to verify the age of the buyers. And what happens online is that they need to ask for a copy, scanned copy of the driver's license or passport, etc., that shows the date of birth and their address. And then they can only send the cigarettes to that address after verifying their age. But what happens is that that scanned copy is in the database of this small cigarette selling company, and that is a risk for many people. First of all, you don't need all this information like pictures and exact age or the date of birth and names, etc. All you need is are you older than 20 years old, right? Are you 20 years old or older, right? And also your address. That's only two pieces of information, but you're providing a lot of information, and that scan of your driver's license gets leaked or that database gets hacked. That's very dangerous, and that could cause ID fraud, etc. Right? So that is dangerous, and we're trying to solve. And they want to solve that by using self-sovereign identity method, especially zero-knowledge proofs. Right? So what they can do, if they are able to integrate SSI technology, is that they can say, we don't need your name, we don't need your picture or anything, you don't need your driver's license, just prove to me cryptographically that you are 20 years old or older, and just send to your address, and then we can just send that. So we don't need to know your name, and then the company doesn't need to hold that information, right? So the company doesn't have access to that driver's license scan. So it's more secure, and for the customers as well, they can just anonymously buy cigarettes, etc. But providing that, proving that they are at least 20 years old, and also providing their address. So there are requests like that, but at the moment they need to use Socious like as a platform. But what we're trying to do is that trying to give access to the technology through their own websites, meaning like we'll be providing Stripe for SSI services. So like Stripe, you can just copy paste their no code, basically a piece of code, and then implement that on their website, right? So that's what we're trying to do. So it's going to be a no code platform. So anyone can come into that platform, then copy that code, and then paste that to their website. And on their website, they can use SSI related solutions like zero knowledge proofs, or verifying certificates like educational certificates and work certificates, etc. So that's that's the second part of the project. And yeah, so if you think this is useful for the Cardano community, and yeah, please vote for Socious. Thank you.
I think that's brilliant. that's taking the SSI solutions and allowing other companies to leverage it. So you build the tech, the platform, the infrastructure, everything behind it, and then let other companies just leverage off that. And the no-code solution just makes sense. And your comparison to Stripe, we build e-commerce websites, myself, my partner, our company, and using Stripe has been so easy to onboard so many companies into the e-commerce space. So if you build a solution just as easy as that and reduce the costs, reduce the risk, reduce that database breach that any company is one hack away from, I think is huge value and a lot of impact for those type of businesses. So I'll put links down below. If anyone thinks this is a good idea, also please have a look into that and give it a vote as well. But Seira, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast episode and taking me through everything that you're up to with Socious, the ICC, everything that's happening in Japan at the moment, and this awesome work that you're doing on Atala PRISM and SSIs. It's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.